Okay guys, here it is, the evening of November 17th. We're going to do this analysis. This is a 6B pencil. I kind of like using soft lead. It can be a little bit messy if you're moving your hand on the paper, but I don't know, I like it. The best thing to do is just jump in and start with a contour. Let's do 1004. We've got Wichita Falls here with 1004. So we've got the tens in units place, so that's 1004.0. I'm going to go over this kind of lightly until I'm sure I have the pattern down. It's always a good idea to make that first contour very light. So once we got that down, that gives us the general shape of our systems. Now we can go a little bit harder on that. And I think before I start hardening this in, I'm going to find the fronts very quickly, because I want to try to kink the lines around those boundaries. Okay, so I've got this one boundary here through Iowa down to Kansas. And it looks like that goes all the way into western Colorado. And then we kind of lose definition. Actually, we've got a southeast wind at that station right there. So I may bring that up like that. Okay, then the Pacific system is going to be in New Mexico. And it looks like it kind of bends a little bit east right around here. And remember, on the weathercast this evening, we saw that little line on the radar at Lubbock, and you want to kind of use that data if you have that. Okay, so that looks good, that boundary looks good. Okay, so I'm going to start going a little bit harder with these lines. So let's do the 1004. And I want to kink that on that boundary. And there's that boundary right there. I want to kink that also. And I'm going to go ahead and throw in a contour label right there. And that goes northward. And when we get to the top of the contour, we do want to label that. Okay. Let me go ahead and finish off this 1000 contour. Okay, so that's that. Then the 1008 is going to follow a very similar pattern. Okay, 1008 right there. And then it gets tricky once you get into the mountainous areas. So I'm going to go around that 1012 right there, and then we got to bring it back south of El Paso. And then we've got something weird going on here. This 982, I suspect that's bad data. because it's very close to this 153 right here, and we shouldn't have low pressure blowing very slowly towards this higher pressure, so I'm going to consider that bad data. Okay, so our 1008 line, see it brings right up to that boundary, then we can kind of kink that back. Then we have to go around Deming here, then back up to Gallup. And I already see an error here. See the 1004? I didn't come up to Trinidad right there. So let me fix that very quickly. Okay, the 1004 needs to go around Trinidad like that. It's very important to fix mistakes like that. Okay, then the 1008 is going to go up like this. Okay, so the next line is going to be 1012, and we can start that here around Phoenix. There's 1012. It's going to go around that station. And now we know that that boundary is right around here, around Grand Junction. So we bring that like that. We can kind of kink that right there. All right, 1012 there. Then we do the 1016. That's going to go all the way up to Utah through the Natural Bridge Caverns area. Then we kink that on the boundary. And that's going to go up through the Dakotas kind of like that. And I'll just stop it up there at the top. Okay, next up is 1020. Okay, that's going to go all the way up through Bismarck. And then 1024. We find that way up in Montana. And I'll stop the analysis right up there, since I'm not worrying too much about Saskatchewan tonight. Okay, well, let me check Mexico here. There's a 1008. Looks like we have another bad data plot right there. And let's see, the 1012. Looks like that's going to do something like this. The data does get a little bit weird out there in Mexico. And you can see we're going from a 1015 to 1012 to a 1006 with no 1008. So we need to fix that. There's 1008. Okay, the 1008, there we go. We've got low pressure right in this area here around Monterey. So I'm going to put our low right there. And then this is a little area of higher pressure right in through here. Then it becomes a low again up in this area. Okay. Actually, this looks like it connects through Del Rio. So let me fix that very quickly. Okay, a 1008 line is going to go kind of like that, and then this 1008 is going to connect like that. So there we go. So this is actually a little bit of a trough through here. Okay, then that leaves the 1012. 1012, coming on shore, then up through College Station, Texarkana, and then Little Rock. Okay, so where's the low pressure center? Let me zoom in on this a little bit. Okay, you can see this cyclonic turning of the winds. First of all, which one has the lowest pressure reading? It's going to be Gage right here. Is that Gage or Woodward? I'm not sure which one. But the pressure there is 997.6. Now the low pressure is obviously not right on that station. But we can assume that that wind flows downstream to maybe a low right there. And we have to keep in mind that low pressure is usually going to be found left of the wind when our back is to the wind. So we can adjust this a little bit to the left right there. So this is actually most likely the very center of that low pressure system. So I'll just draw that on there very quickly. Okay, that's going to be your low. And then we can just harden in the front. So this is probably going to be some sort of stationary front through here. Okay, then what's going on in New Mexico? There's the tail end of the front like that. And you notice this strange shape, this loop right here. That's suggestive of maybe a wave along that boundary. That suggests maybe there might be a little bit of a low pressure center right in this region. So that's something we might want to keep an eye on. Okay, let's see, anything else? Let me just fix this. You can see out here in Mexico, got that very weak south wind, 81 degrees. Tucson, nice and cool, 64 with a north wind, so front has come through there. So this is the leading edge of the front, right there. Okay, high pressure, it's going to be located right here. And anything else we're missing? This little open area here is interesting. This suggests that maybe there's a very weak low right around the Aspen area, kind of in this region. If we were doing a tight mesoscale analysis on Colorado, we would certainly take a closer look at that area. Let me fix this contour right here. There we go. Okay, then we can kind of plot out the location of that secondary front back through here. That's going to run something like that. So this marks the leading edge of the Canadian air mass. So this is air flowing southward out of Canada. In this area here, in the Four Corners area, that's coming from the Pacific. Okay. Do we have a dry line? We talked about that on the webcast. No, not really. You might be able to place a very weak one maybe in this area. If you did, that's perfectly fine. That's probably where I would place it if I had to. And here's another wave in Iowa. See a little wavy pattern? That's suggestive of maybe a low that we haven't quite resolved. And you can see a little bit of a cyclonic circulation right in here. And if you actually plot the 1002 line like an intermediate contour, we're going to come up with something like this. And that suggests that, yeah, there's probably a closed low right in this area. Okay, so I think that about completes the analysis. So I hope that's been educational, and I'll zoom out so we can see the results. And that was a neat little experiment. I tried doing this with the webcam. The Microsoft webcam I had was not recognized by the computer. It's having driver problems, and I realized, well, I can just grab my Canon camcorder and use that. So I think that worked out great. So anyway, there you go. We'll have another hack at that next time, and hope you had fun. Thanks.